Oh, you English and your history. Oh, sorry, didn't see you there. What's to do with irony? So today, we're going to slow things down just a little bit. I noticed that people might have struggled a little bit with Harrison Bergeron, and I think before we move on to anything else, we should pump the brakes a little bit and make sure we all understand the story. And to do that, we need to talk a little bit about irony and satire. Let's go. When we say irony in literature, we typically mean one of three different types of irony. The first one we're going to talk about is dramatic irony. Now, dramatic irony is probably the easiest type to understand, and you see it all the time. Dramatic irony is when a character in a story knows less information than the person listening. Right? So if you're watching a sitcom and you see that the husband overhears the wife on the phone and she says, "I love you," and the husband thinks she's cheating on him, but in reality, you know she's talking to her mom, that's dramatic irony. You know something that the character doesn't. Now, dramatic irony is used heavily in stories. TV, movies, books, it's everywhere. It's very common, and now that you know about it, you're gonna notice it all the time. Another type of irony, you ask? Well, that would be verbal irony. Now, verbal irony is when a character means the opposite of what they say. Like, if I were to go outside and it was pouring with rain and I said, "Isn't this great?" I didn't mean that. What I meant was, this isn't great. And when we say the opposite of what we mean, that is, when we use sarcasm, we can have a bigger impact with our words. Like if I were just to say, "I'm really upset that it's raining," that wouldn't have as much of an impact. In some ways, you can think of verbal irony as literary sarcasm. What's the last type of irony we're going to talk about today? Glad you asked. That's going to be situational irony. In essence, situational irony is when what you expect to happen does not happen. A fire station burns down? That's ironic because you don't expect the place that puts out fires to be put on fire. It's a known fact that gunpowder was invented by Chinese scientists who were trying to find a potion to create immortality. That's situationally ironic. Okay, so you might ask, what about Harrison Bergeron? Where's the irony there? It's everywhere. I think the best place to start is with the question that almost everybody got wrong. I'm going to read the question as it verbatim. Let me see if I can find it somewhere. Okay. And that read, "Why is it ironic when George refers to our time as the Dark Ages?" So almost everybody wrote something like, "It's ironic because in our time, there's still problems with equality." Yeah, that's true, but that's not what the question was asking. The question was asking, why is it ironic for George to call our time Dark Ages? Now, to figure out the irony here, we have to ask ourselves, what's really being said? So, well, George literally refers to our time as the Dark Ages. That means he thinks that his time is better than ours. But we know that that's not true. Correct. His time's not more equal, it's not more enlightened than our time. It's not true. It's false. And we know that. We, as readers from the 21st century, we know that, yeah, while our time is flawed, it's not as bad as what's happening with Harrison Bergeron. What is it again when we know something that the character... Yes, that's right. Dramatic irony. Dramatic irony here lies in the difference between what the character knows and what we know. His time isn't more equal than ours. Everybody's just equally oppressed. And to be clear, it's not ironic because our time is still bad and has problems. No, that's not why it's ironic. Remember, irony lies in the differences. Now, there's also some situational irony in Harrison Bergeron. Think about the scene when the handicapper general comes in and shoots Harrison Bergeron and his dance partner out of the sky. Take a second to answer in the questions below. What makes that scene an example of situational irony? Oh, wait. So just like last time, we need to work out what makes this scene ironic. Let's start with expectations. So you have this couple, they're dancing impossibly gracefully. It's like they're floating, everything's beautiful, it's lovely, it's a romantic love scene. Then it's ended abruptly by a shotgun and they both die and crash to the ground. If you were given this scene, just the lovely dancers dancing, you could probably imagine 1,000 different ways for it to end, but I bet not very many of them would involve them getting shot out of the air with a shotgun. Difference in expectation versus what happens is, of course, situational irony. In this case, like what happens with a lot of situational irony, it also happens to be very funny. And that's okay. Something being funny doesn't mean that it's not important, and honestly doesn't mean that it's not always serious. So, you might say, that scene is an example of situational irony because there's a discrepancy between what people expect and what actually happens. So let's recap. Irony in literature is one of three things. It's either dramatic, where you know something they don't. It's verbal, where they say something they don't mean. Or it's situational, where something happens that you don't expect to happen. If you're interested in exploring irony further, I've included a playlist here. I'm not sure which side this will go on. I'm still new to YouTube. One of these sides is going to have a link. Click it. It'll be a playlist of ironic videos. Correction, the videos aren't ironic. They're about irony. How does this all come together? Well, when you have a funny story that is ironic and talking about something real that exists and criticizing something, what you have is something called satire. Work is said to be satirical if it uses irony to criticize something. Take a moment to answer the question down below. What do you think Vonnegut is criticizing in this story? I'll wait. So the primary thing that this story is criticizing is equality. It's an indictment of taking the easy way out, and instead of raising everybody up, bringing everybody down. By making everybody worse instead of better. Okay, so we know Vonnegut has kind of written an ironic story, it's kind of funny, and it criticizes equality. So what now? Well, what I asked you to do in the prompt was to analyze the tools he uses to convey this message, which we've just done in this video. The answer is simple. Vonnegut uses hyperbole and dark humor to criticize certain types of equality. He does so to pinpoint flaws in our own ideas, or maybe even help us question our own ideas of what is and what is not equal, and what is not good. Simple enough, right? Good. Simple enough, right? Good. I've linked an exemplar in the description, so you can go and look at what a 3-paragraph Harrison Bergeron analysis could look like, which will help you for today's assignment. This week, we're not reading anything new. We are not leaving this week until we understand irony a little bit, and I think the best way to do that is to look at a satirical video. What I've done is I've given you a clip of Stephen Colbert, a well-known satirist. You're gonna watch that clip, and you're gonna be writing on that video. I know we don't typically use videos and write about them, so finding evidence might be a little trickier than normal. That's okay, you're gonna have to watch the video a few times. That's all linked on Google Classroom. See you guys soon.